This program is proudly brought to you by the FSCA.
Hey, tada! You are watching Zaka. Hello to you and welcome. Bona man, getting into the property industry is not easy, especially if you're alone. Share your resources, you might just be able to make it work. That's exactly what our group has done today. They've come together, they've gathered their resources, and now it looks like the sky is only the beginning. We're gonna meet up with some of them. Those who are based in KZN will be joining us virtually, and those who are right here in Gauteng will be meeting us in person. We're gonna find out some of their strengths and weaknesses, and we're gonna see how we can give them information that is reliable, that is relevant and credible, so that they can make even better financial decisions. Sheba man, bye. Mjakazi Ndlovu, it's such a pleasure to have you with us namhlanje. Sawubona bhuti ninjani?
Sawubona njani?
Siyaphila nathi, siyabonga nje ukuthi sinike isikhashana ukuthi sizokhulumisana kabanzi ngePrestige Stokvel. Awusitshele nje from the very beginning. Iqale kanjani iPrestige Stokvel? What was the motivation behind it?
The Okajani Property Lifestyle Stokvel started in 2018-2019. The basic mandate was people coming together, sharing the same mindset.
I joined in 2019 when I've always, just to take it back, I've always had an interest in property because I think property is one of those assets that one needs to have in their investment portfolio. So I thought, why not? Let me create another channel of creating passive income, and also it could end up being a side hustle. I started having interest in property when I was still 24 when I bought my first property. So I thought this would be a great addition to what I already have.
Now, I heard through the grapevine, this thing, you know, in university, bringing together whatever resources that you've had. How true is that? Tell me a little bit about the setting where you were, because it seems like it was people who were moneyed, you know, in their big houses and big cars, trying to do something. What was the setting or the background?
You know, the question is, when you look at property, you look at something millions. This is impossible, this is not meant for me. Property has always been baked beans and mayonnaise. But when we were in university and when we were in different startups, we said, but who said it's impossible? Property is for thousands. But if we can come together, if us as students, if us as people who are emerging in the startup business, people who are new in the corporate world, if each and everyone could contribute, if each and everyone could come together, we'll raise the same amount that one person could go in. It is just now that the pie would be splitted amongst the many. But that's where we start. That's how many great companies started.
So the end goal of the property Stokvel is eventually to create financial freedom for the youth. So as we all know, the history of South Africa, we've always had this challenge, especially when it comes to Black people. So we decided, actually, let's empower Black people, let's empower the youth. You need to start from somewhere. You need to, even if you, as we all know, we kind of have challenges when it comes to buying property, because there's a lot that goes into buying property. You need the capital, you need the lawyer's fees, you need the deposit. So let's take that from you and make you part of a crowd sharing or crowdfunding concept, so that you can contribute in the economy, you can contribute in buying and appreciating assets. And I think property is one of, like I mentioned, property is one of those that I think is something that can that you can leave a legacy of. You can pass it down from generation to generation, and by so doing, you can create passive income for years to come.
I love it. I absolutely love it. Speak to us about some of the successes that you experienced then along the way. What were you able to do? Masenhlanganisa imali together, nisebenza as one to achieve this dream like you speak of now. What were some of the things you were able to achieve?
When we came together, the first idea was to just collect money, build and sell, and then just go. But when we started collecting money and seeing the fruits, we said, hang on, we could start buying apartments. And people said, no, we can also buy old apartments and flip it up. And we said, no, let's get together. We started buying our first property. It was a 2-bedroom house, a bedroom apartment in Durban. And it was old, but we got it at a lesser price. We flipped it up. And now we tended to a rented house, housing 5 people, were making good money from it. And we saw the idea is going well. We started going to our second one. We started going to our third one. Now we are more than 10.
What we do is that we buy houses and rent them out and sell them and buy land. That's what we are best at.
I know there are a number of other subcategories or subsidiaries that are there. I think I'm going to leave those questions to your Gauteng branch or your Gauteng division to tackle, because I know my colleagues they are waiting for us to also have a conversation with them. But I just want to ask you before I let you go, how can Zaka be of assistance not only to yourself, but also to those who are affiliates, those who are members of the different stokvels? If we could come and say, hey, let's lend a helping hand, what sort of information would you need that we could share? It can be about financial literacy, it can be about the difference between saving and investment, it could be about anything really that has to do with financial health and well-being. What sort of assistance would you need?
The challenges as the response. We've got we have over 700 members on WhatsApp, and when you send out a message to say this is what we're planning on doing, this is where we're meeting, people just they don't want to pitch.
So how can we educate our own people to know that property is not just a short-term investment vehicle, but rather than a long-term investment, and what are the benefits? So that is how we need assistance and education. How can we educate our members in knowing that property is much of a longer term?
I get in a baba. So matching orders wait. We definitely have our work cut out for us. What we're going to do, Mrs. Muya, we are going to link up with the group what are some of their issues and concerns, and how we can send someone to them who will give them information that will help them make even better financial decisions. Mrs. Muya, we get even more information. Stay with us. Hello again, and a warm welcome to you, Zaka. Now remember, just before the break, there were some problems that emerged, and how to make sure financial literacy for the members, how do we make sure there's active participation. Now a promise that we make, Zaka, is a promise that we keep. Information that's reliable, that's relevant, and that's credible, so that they can make even better financial decisions. And we have delivered. We've got with us today from the FSCA a financial expert who's going to give us information about consumer literacy and education, and she's going to help our group today to make even better financial decisions. Alicia is here. Alicia, thank you so much for having us as Zaka. I am not alone. I'm bringing our group for today. Bongs is here and Gugu's also here. I'm going to let them do the talking so that they don't say I'm misquoting them and misrepresenting them. Guys, you had some questions before the break. Tell me, what would you like to know in terms of financial education and literacy?
Yes. Alicia, how are you?
I'm well, how are you?
I'm good, thank you. Thank you so much for having us, and we appreciate this time with you guys. So my first question is that as FSCA, I know you are mandated to regulate financial institutions, isn't it? So like banks and insurers. So does that involve stokvels also?
No. So stokvels, we don't really regulate them, but we do provide financial education on stokvels and how they are run. Stokvels would be NASASA, your National Association of Stokvels for South Africa. You would register, you probably are registered with them already, but they are the ones who are providing guidance on stokvels itself.
Okay. Good afternoon, Felicia. Thank you for having us. I also have a question for you. Is FSCA nationwide? Is it all over South Africa, or is it only based in Gauteng? And if that's the case, only based in Gauteng, are you guys able to travel to Durban, because that's where our head office is at, to assist our finance office into handling our books or our finances even better?
The FSCA has a national footprint, although we only have an office in Pretoria. So we service the entire South Africa, all 9 provinces. We have a team of consumer educators that speak all national languages, and they can assist with financial literacy information. In terms of your books, I would recommend that you get an expert who deals with finances, an accountant and so forth, to help you handle your books. But in terms of financial literacy information about what things to include, exclude, that kind of thing, yes, we can provide education around that.
Perfect.
My first impression was this is a very knowledgeable, very determined, and very confident group. They are they are hungry for information, and they want to do things right from the beginning. And I think it's very inspiring that they want to find out this information, they want to get things right, and they want to succeed in life sooner rather than later.
And I think the education part is very important because,
Yes.
all the members are not at the same level. So Gugu and Bongs, likabale an understanding of what do we need to do, how do we invest, what are savings, long-term versus short-term. But that doesn't necessarily mean that Ayanda's on the same page. So it's important when you have your gatherings, when you meet maybe once a year or once a month or however often you meet, send somebody to come and assist. Would you be able to send someone from the FSCA to say, let's just maybe go and meet with them, so if there are any questions that are relevant to us, we can respond?
I think that's very important. Doing a needs analysis and just establishing what the field is like. Remember, when we do consumer education, we speak to every LSM you mentioned earlier. We speak to everybody who earns little to a lot, because everybody needs financial literacy. And a lot of times we only embark on financial literacy when we're in trouble or when there is an issue. And we kind of skip a few steps. So yes, we have experience in speaking to people of all, there's times where we will send a team to go to a village, and we know the protocols and the culture. We will send a mail, they will go speak to the chief, they will ask permission, they will follow the protocols, and we will engage to try. You see, South Africa is missing those basic foundational blocks. We know financial literacy is important, but what is it really? And yes, we can provide information on all of those elements just to bring everybody up to speed. And I think that's what your stokvel is looking for. Is we have varying levels of education and knowledge. Some people who think they know it all, some people who really do know something, and some people who have bits of information. And you actually want to change that narrative to make it credible, so that everybody has the same information. I think that's what you're looking for. Yes. The FSCA has a regulatory mandate and a consumer education mandate. And that's where I fall in today with the program, was where I was sharing financial literacy and the importance of financial literacy, not only with stokvels, but in everyday life, learning the basic skills such as budgeting, saving for a rainy day, thinking about your future like retirement, managing the little money you have, whether it's little or a lot, but managing it better to make it grow. So the FSCA and the organization itself prides itself on providing this information free of charge to consumers where the need is. And we travel all across the country, all provinces, speak the various languages, and we will come and engage at no cost to the consumer, because we believe that financial literacy is definitely a cornerstone in building this economy.
Are there any concerns that you've come across when dealing with stokvel, especially whether it's the normal stokveling of gogos coming together on a monthly for groceries at the end of the year, or our type of stokvel where we are crowdfunding towards a common goal?
I think the important thing is, number one, is trust. And I think you guys have grown to such a growth now, there's definitely trust established, okay? The other thing that I think is important is getting your papers in order. So what are the terms and conditions? What are the rules? What is your constitution? Does everybody understand what's required of them? And if they don't understand, who's calling them to order? Who's saying, hello, you didn't do 1, 2, 3, 4. So I think it's important to have very strict consequences and to sometimes you have to use an example. You have to have a grace period, and then you have to use a guinea pig an example, and you have to discipline one person so that the rest can understand that this is the consequence. So yeah.
Personally, I've learned that you need to do all your research before you go into anything, whether you're investing, you're starting a business. Like Alicia said earlier on, that you need to be always informative in whatever it is that you're planning on embarking on.
If I may ask, does your services comes with fees?
No. The FSCA does consumer financial education free to the consumer, to the end user. There's no traveling costs, there's nothing. All of that is held by the FSCA. We send our colleagues over. We will assess what's the language spoken, what's the culture, is it more females? If it's, I wouldn't send a 18-year-old to go speak to Gogos. I would match to try and establish that there's credibility and that there's repertoire and understanding, and that's how we will engage and communicate.
Today's meeting with my thoughts, I think it was very informative. I've learned more personally, and through the Stokvel, I've learned many things which will definitely take it home.
Else that came about with a conversation, or from a conversation I had earlier with Mhlegazi, was the need to know what to do with the amount of money that comes in from their rental units that were there. So they have now gathered their resources, they have purchased property that's there, they then have tenants who are renting from them. What do they do with that money that's in them? And you can put it in a bank account, but sometimes the returns are not as good as you would like them to be. Do they reinvest that money? Do they disperse that money? What would you advise they look into in order for them to see whether or not they can increase their profits there?
I think at the top of my head, I would think of, there's obviously running costs, there's maintenance to consider. So there'll need to be a little bit of a cash float for that. Did something break in one of the properties? Is the geyser burst? Do you guys have the proper insurances? Probably a monthly insurance fee is being paid already for all of those things. In terms of what to do with those rentals, definitely speak to a financial advisor, an authorized financial advisor, and ask him, what are my options in growing this money? Then you need to ask the members, at what point do you need to access that money? Do you need to access it after 3 months, 6 months, 12 months? Can you leave it there longer? And then they will present various investment options or savings options where you can, certain ones that you can access easier if you need that money, or a little lengthier time, etc., etc. So definitely speaking to an authorized financial advisor to give you some advice on savings, investment options, and other things. Yeah. In anything in life, whether you're starting a business or whether you're joining a stokvel, I think it's very important to do your research and to read about the stokvel, to read about the institution, read their constitution, their terms and conditions, but also there's the internet that's available as well. There's information that's readily available, and if you do not understand anything, you must ask questions until you have that clarity and peace in your heart that this is something you really want to do. I think a lot of us jump into decisions and we end up regretting it later. So that is why I would like to emphasize that it's important to research, to make sure you understand, and to share that knowledge with your friends and family, because that will then make an educated community. So the FSCA has a dedicated consumer education website, and what I love is that it's not limited by time and space because it is online. And we all know that communicating with your members, they are busy during the day. Maybe they have a specific preference. They like to just do some reading maybe on the weekend or in the evenings. So we have a website called fscamymoney.co.za. The information is free, it can be downloadable. There's PDF documents, etc. that can be read. Simple, basic English in simple concepts so that everybody can understand budgeting, money management, thinking about things you never thought about. Like, I'm sure a lot of people, they're aware that insurance exists, but they don't understand it and its benefits. It can protect your assets, like your property, for example, and I think it's important for your members to understand concepts like that. Yeah.
Two things that I've learned through today is that savvy, creating a savvy and knowing where you're going and people that you are meeting, things that needs to be changed as you know that you are doing crowdfunding. That's very important. Secondly, I've learned that doing your research thoroughly, that's very, very, very much very important. And thirdly, there are thirdly, there are services out there which can help and educate us in terms of financial wellness.
Today's meeting went very well. We actually gathered enough information as to how we're going to take it back to the office for our financial education and how FSCA is willing to assist in that regard. And yeah, I think we've covered everything, that we got all the information we needed from them.
You're happy.
I am.
If you're happy, I'm happy. Thank you so much. But before we let you go, Alicia, maybe just speak to us in general about, the economy right now is not looking so good. Sometimes an individual does not have the financial resources or the capacity to do things like invest and save, etc. So working together with other people, you have that collective power to then say, let's get into property, etc. What are some of the words of wisdom that you can give to someone who's at home who's thinking, hey, I like this idea, maybe I should bring some friends together and also see where we can invest and get active in the economy? What advice would you give to someone who's at home watching, saying, I have an idea of bringing friends together to do something. How do I go about it?
I think what's important is that everyone has ideas, which is great and wonderful, but not a lot of people do their due diligence. Will this idea work? And they don't foresee the future. So where's it from 3 to 5, 10 years? You guys had a long-term plan. You want to see the stokvel growing, and you have massive other ideas now investing. And I think for people sitting at home, and we just recently at the FSCA, we looked at the unemployment stats with youth specifically. But in the same breath, youth are also the most optimistic. They're unemployed, but they're optimistic. And I think what I would encourage is multiple streams of income. Even if you are working, I would think of ideas, things, look in your community, see what's missing, what could be done better. Sometimes it's not a big bang idea, starting from scratch. Sometimes it's taking an existing idea and just making it better. From my side, I think it's just, I count myself lucky to sit here in this chair today and to be able to share with the people of South Africa, and I can't wait to join you guys again.
Oh my goodness, I'm inspired, absolutely inspired. I hope you're inspired as well. You're going to make sure that your WhatsApp group has got that survey, your roadshows are set up.
Taking it out there.
I'm glad. I hope you are inspired as well to bring together your group and make sure that you join resources, all hands on deck, to bring about change in your life as well as that of your community. So get in touch with us. Who knows, maybe we'll be in your area pretty soon, and the details are on screen as we speak. Let us know what you're getting up to, what sort of assistance you need, and we'll put you in touch with someone who'll give you information that is reliable, that is relevant, that is credible, so that you can make even better financial decisions. So until next time, it's goodbye to you. God bless.